Hi, Assalamualaikum and Salam Ramadan. Today we want to continue on chapter 6, sampling design. So these are the 4 main points: reason for sampling, sample size decision, sampling methods and error in sampling. Okay, so sampling process ada 5 step. The first one, you define the population, populasi you, siapa you nak, populasi mana you nak pilih and then determine the sampling frame, a representation of all the elements in the population from which the sample is drawn. Daripada mana you nak dapatkan list untuk you punya sample tu, itu sampling frame. And then the sample design, probability or non-probability. Yang ni sekejap you tengok. Lepas tu you determine the appropriate sample size and finally you execute the sampling process. So ada 5 The first, define population, lepas tu tentukan sample frame dia, lepas tu sample design yang mana nak pilih, and then berapa orang you nak pilih sample size, and finally execute the sampling process. Sampling is the process of selecting the right individuals, objects or events as representation of the entire population. So you punya population, you pilih you punya orang. Ini adalah sample. Okay, sampling. Population, okay, ni dipecah-pecahkan Population is the entire group of people, events or things. Elements is a single member of population. Sample is a subset or subgroup of the population. So yang ni saya draw kat sini dulu. This one, the whole entire group is the population. Okay. And then dalam tu ada orang ramai kan. Okay, one orang ni is element. Subset yang terpilih ni, this one is sample. Okay, faham kan? Elemen ni boleh jadi terpilih atau boleh jadi tak terpilih lah. Okay. And then sampling unit, elements or set of elements that is available for selection. Yang ni actually is element. Subject ni is a single member of the sample. Daripada yang terpilih tu, ni adalah sample tadi kan. Satu ni subject. Okay. Reason for sampling. Kenapa kita buat sampling? So the first one is economy. Economy ni untuk jimat lah. Kalau nak ambil the whole entire population, ribu-ribu, manalah mampu kan. And then timeliness, memenuhi sesuatu masa. Bila buat research ni dia ada time frame. Jadi pasal tu kita buat sampling. Okay, the large size of many population. Sometimes population tu terlalu besar sampai juta-juta jumlah dia. Juta-juta banyak. Jadi kita tak boleh guna. Jadi kita kena sample supaya kita boleh ambil yang macam realistic number. And then some inaccessibility of some of the population. Sometimes population kita tak dapat macam tak dapat nak jumpa mereka. Contohlah, kita nak kaji dekat orang asli ke, susah nak pergi kan. Ataupun kita nak kaji banduan ke, bukan boleh simple-simple masuk kan nak jumpa banduan. Okay, and then destructiveness of the observation. Sometimes kita buat research on sesuatu benda yang kita kena rosakkan. Contoh, kita nak buat research on mentol. Okay, jangan ketawakan mentol saya. Okay, so let's say kita nak buat kajian on mentol ni, kita nak tengok berapa lama mentol ni boleh tahan. Okay, jadinya kita kena uji kan. Test sampailah dia blow lah, dia dah tertutup, terpadam. Test lagi yang kedua sampai dia terpadam. Test ketiga sampai dia terpadam. Dan kita boleh buat satu conclusion. Takkanlah nak test sampai 500 kot, rugilah kita kan. Jadi tu dia kata destructiveness of the observation. Sama juga kereta, kita nak tengok safety of the kereta, kita kena pergi crashkan kereta tu. Jadi takkanlah kita nak crashkan sampai 5 kereta. So that's why kita sample. And also for accuracy. Kalau yang ribu-riban jawab, sometimes tak accurate pun. So kita samplekan dia supaya kita dapatkan yang lebih accurate. Realistic number untuk accuracy lah. Okay, yang ni dia elaborate semua you boleh baca. Okay, sample size determination. So sample size determination ni dia kata in non-probability sample, the sample size will depend on how convenient a size of the sample will be for convenient sampling. For quota sampling, the size will be determined by specified number in a particular quota. For purposive sampling, the size will be determined by relational. Okay, so saya tengok belakang ni apa. dia kata tadi tu sample size determination yang tadi tu is just dia nak bagi tahu dalam non probability sampling. Tapi kat sini yang lebih tepat lah. Kat sini kalau kita tengok macam mana kita nak pilih the sample size. The first one is first is to identify the research objective. Objective research kita tu apa? Jadi bila objective research tu apa, then baru kita boleh tahu kita nak berapa ramai orang. Number 2, the extent of precision desired, the confidence interval. How precise we want the result to be. How precise we want it to be. Okay, the more precise we want it to be, the sample size need to be macam specific lah. Okay, and then the acceptable risk in predicting the level of precision. Acceptable risk ni contoh tadi yang nak kena rosakkan sesuatu benda tu, kereta dan sebagainya tu. So, berapa kereta kita boleh rosakkan? 1, paling-paling 2 contoh kan. The amount of variability in a population. Nak tengok berapa variability in a population. Contoh dalam Malaysia kita nak kaji etnik. Etnik ada banyak sangat. So yang ni kita nak kena pilih lah. Etnik ni berapa orang, etnik ni berapa orang, etnik ni. Tapi kalau kita nak kaji Malaysia as a whole, jadi tak teruk sangat lah. Okay, Malaysia as a whole mungkin kita boleh specifykan terus kita nak ambil 300 orang let's say lah. Okay. And then cost and time constraint kena fikir ni juga. Kalau kita tak ada dana, kita tak ada grant, jadi kita tak boleh buat sample yang terlalu besar because bila ramai sangat dia akan makan lebih banyak cost. And in some cases the size of the population itself, if the population is very 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 big, so then it will decide on our sample size nanti. Kalau population tu kecil je, so nanti macam mana kita nak pilih sampel dalam tu. Okay, so it depends on the size of the population as well. Okay, alright, now moving on to the sampling method tu probability and non-probability sampling. So under probability sampling ni ada view kat sini dia cakap unrestricted or simple random sampling. Probability sampling ni dia tak restricted. Every element in the population has a known and equal chance of being selected as a subject. Yang ni dia punya definition, mesti kena hafal. Probability sampling kata setiap elemen ada equal chance to be selected as sample. And probability sample ni less bias and more generalizability. Refer balik slide chapter 1, okay? And also dia kata probability sampling ni dia could become cumbersome and expensive. This sampling process could become cumbersome and expensive. Probability sampling sometimes dia boleh jadi more expensive juga, tapi because it provide good generalizability, less bias, jadi kita pilih juga probability sampling. And probability sampling ni sometimes the whole population list tak ada jadi bila tak ada kita kena pilih probability sampling. Okay, these are the types of probability sampling: systematic, stratified random, cluster, area and double. Systematic sampling. Drawing every nth element in the population starting with the randomly chosen element between 1 and n. Contohlah senarai nama student. Saya nak tahu student mana yang akan terpilih untuk saya punya research lah, let's say. So saya kata saya nak every third student. So third. Okay, faham kan? This one is every third student. So inilah dia kata systematic sampling, kita akan pilih setiap yang kita tentukan, every third ke, every fifth ke, every tenth ke, whichever lah. Okay. Stratified random sampling ni dia ada stratification or segregation followed by a random selection of subject from each stratum. Stratified random sampling ni dia kata first divided into mutually exclusive group. Group yang tidak akan tersilap masuk, tidak akan tergabung. Contoh kita pecahkan kepada male and female. Okay. And then lepas tu kita akan pecahkan lagi. Dia kata stratification is an efficient research sampling design. Okay, nevermind. Stratification ensure homogeneity and within each stratum very few differences and dispersion and allow but heterogeneity between two strata. Dia kata macam ni student stratified random sampling ni dia ada pecahan dia macam male and female. Kita pecahkan dia. Male kita nak ambil berapa? Kita nak ambil 50 daripada course business, 50 daripada course account, Female pun sama. 50 business, 50 account. Lepas tu kita nak pecah lagi. 50 business, 50 account ni. Pada business kita nak 50 ni. 25 kita nak yang CGPA 3 point above. 25 CGPA 3 point below. Sama juga. Female pun sama macam tu. 25. Macam ni stratified random sampling. And result dia kita akan dapat yang sangat spesifik and very precise. Kita akan dapat yang tepat sekali. So kita pilih daripada yang kita dah dapat tu lah. Then we have cluster sampling. Sample gathered in group of elements that ideally are natural aggregates of elements in the population. Okay. Cluster, macam kita duk tengok COVID-19 sekarang ni, cluster kayangan, cluster apa lagi, cluster certain tempat, cluster Indonesia, cluster tabligh. So ini cluster ni adalah grup-grup daripada specific place or specific event or specific perkara kan. Jadi sama juga cluster sampling ni samalah macam tu. Faham kan? Okay, multi-stage cluster sampling ni macam stratified tadi. Kita dah ada satu cluster, kita pecah lagi. Okay, daripada tu kita pecah lagi. Ni multi-stage cluster sampling. Okay. Area sampling, specified type of cluster sampling are area sampling. Dia specifiedkan macam country ke, blocks, city blocks ke, or something lah. Contoh kita nak pilih specifically in Merbok, Kedah. Okay. So kita nak kena tengok dekat negeri Kedah ni, Merboknya kat mana kawasan dia. So hanya sample from Merbok sahaja yang we are going to select area sampling. Double sampling is a plan that resorted to when further information is needed from subset of the group from which some information has already been collected for the same study. It's a sampling design where initially a sample is used in a study to collect some preliminary information, and later a subsample of this primary sample is used to examine the matter in more detail. Kita dah pilih 50 orang contoh. First time kita dah buat dah hantar macam dah buat questionnaire ke, dah hantar dia jawab. Kemudian kita suruh dia jawab lagi sekali on another matter. Ni macam before and after. Before and after pun kita kata yang ni lah double sampling. Okay, now moving on to non-probability sampling. Non-probability sampling ada few je. First one is convenience sampling. Convenience sampling ni collection of information from members of the population who are conveniently available to provide it. Available to provide it. Ini macam sangat convenient. Kita keluar dekat Academic Courtyard tu, and then kita bagi aja questionnaire tu pada siapa yang ada kat situ. Itu convenient sampling. Okay. Purposive sampling ada dua, judgment sampling and quota sampling. Judgment sampling is used when a limited number of category of people have the information that is sought. Judgment sampling ni we use the expert. Okay, expert to judge to decide on kita punya sampling. Quota sampling ni, ini kita specifically mention berapa group untuk sesuatu quota tu lah. Okay. Laki 30, female 50 untuk representation. Male and female. So kalau lah lelaki tu dah 30 dah jawab, and then ada orang yang ke-31, we still tak boleh bagi because dia dah habis daripada quota dia. Okay, ni dia punya summary, boleh baca lah nanti. Okay, these are bias and errors in sampling. Dia kata, a sample is expected to mirror the population from which it comes. However, there is no guarantee that any sample will precisely represent the population from which it comes. Chances may dictate that a disproportionate number of untypical observation will be made. Like for the case of testing fuses, the sample of fuses may consist of more or less faulty fuses than the real population proportion of a faulty case. Dia kata sometimes keadaan tu tak tepat, tak precise. Dia kata benda yang sebenar tak seperti yang kita tengah buat ujian tu. Contoh macam dalam kes COVID-19, kita pilih 50 orang, kita dapat let's say 5. Tapi kalau dalam yang keadaan sebenar, mungkin kita akan dapat lesser, kita akan dapat banyak 5% lah kan contoh. Okay, kalau daripada jumlah sebenar 5 juta kan orang, Mungkin kita akan dapat like 1% je ke. Itu yang dia nak cakap. Okay. Okay, then sampling error comprises the differences between the sample and the population that are due solely to the particular units that happen to have been selected. There are two basic causes for sampling error. One is chance. Chance ni kira tersilap. That is the error that occurs just because of bad luck. This may result in untypical choices. Kita tersilap pilih. Kita tersilap waktu. Itu macam bad luck lah. Okay. The second one of sampling is sampling bias. Sampling bias is a tendency to favor the selection of units that have particular characteristic. Contoh kita pergi dekat Academic Courtyard, kita punya campus tu, ni kita nak bagi. And then datang somebody yang muka you familiar, you favor kan? You bagi dia jawab you punya questionnaire. Datang pula muka yang tak familiar macam sombong sikit. Sedangkan dia belakang orang yang you favor tu je tapi you tak bagi. Because dia tak ada that particular characteristic. And this can create bias in sampling because kita memilih kita punya sample tu secara favoritism. Okay, and then boleh jadi interviewer effect. No two interviewers are alike and the same person may provide different answer to different interviewers. So let's say kita ada dua interviewer. Seorang interviewer garang, seorang interviewer baik. Okay, garang and then baik. Kalau kita ni kena interview dengan dua orang, dengan garang ni kita bagi answer let's say like on the spot or macam just point. Dengan interviewer baik ni kita lebih selesa. So mungkin kita cakap lebih banyak. So then it will be a different answer. And then the respondents effect. Respondents might also give incorrect answer to impress the interviewer. This type of error is the most difficult to prevent because it results from the outright deceit, penipuan direct daripada part of the respondee. Macam mana kita nak tahu kan? Contohlah dalam kelas saya tanya kat you all student, you all okay ke? Faham? You all just akan simply answer to me like, faham. Okay, mungkin you all tak faham pun, tapi because it's just like an answer that you feel is correct, then you just say it. You understand tak? And how do I control that? I cannot control that. Okay, and then knowing the study purpose, knowing why the study is being conducted may create an incorrect response. Contohlah, kita ni respondent dan kita tahu the study purpose is untuk change the government, let's say. So kita akan jadi berhati-hatilah dalam bagi jawapan ni So study purpose ni sometimes kita tak perlu expose. Tapi kalau study purpose tu tak ada apa-apa yang pelik-pelik, then no problem lah. And then induced bias. Finally, it could be noted that the personal prejudice either the designer of the study or the data collector may tend to induce bias. In designing a questionnaire, questions may be slanted, condong, in such a way that a particular response will be obtained even though it is incorrect. This one, inaccurate. Ni cakap macam prejudice lah bila kita buat soalan-soalan yang bias. Contoh kita kata, Kedah is very hot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You think orang akan jawab mana? Rata-rata orang akan jawab ni. This one is already slanted untuk orang jawab ni. This is a bias question. Okay, alright, so that's all. Thank you so much student. Bye. Assalamualaikum.